First and foremost, before we get started, I'd like to give all praises and honor and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rekah Kwadash, and double honors to those great millstone, while lunch is truth, and also to those elect that is scattered abroad. I like to say, Shalom. Come back here today with another great and powerful lesson through the spirit and the power of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. And the type D lesson is two hanging death in Mississippi. So I like to say shalom to all our listeners and learners. Hope this will help you today and guide you back in the path of righteousness and back to your true power, which in fact is Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. So before we start today, listen, I have a quick news article by WLBT3. And it reads, it said, what we know about the hanging deaths of two men in Mississippi. So before I play this video, this news report, that we already know that these things are constantly been happening, right? But you know what I'm saying? We seeing that with this Charlie Kirk assassination, and all of a sudden now, you got two men on the same day, was hung by the neck on trees. So one thing about it, we already know the playbook. We're not ignorant of Satan's device. And also in Minnesota, a mass shooting in a homeless camp, encampment, so right now we already know that they're already saying about it had passed a law where they're going to try to get rid of homeless people. Now all of a sudden now it's been a mass shooting in Minnesota. I got a little small clip on that also, but this is the main one that I'm focused on, but I'm gonna bring that one out too, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shai. So we're not ignorant of Satan's device, but this is the main thing that I'm focused on right here. So this happened right here in my own backyard in Mississippi, So one thing about it is that, we seeing that these things are going to constantly happen. This man is trying to get his narrative, which in fact is total control. So we seeing, that, this is the same playbook, whether it was engineered, a manufacturer, or it could even be real. May the Lord have mercy upon these two men that was unalive, or a crisis act, propaganda of what could have been a false flag event. But we know that everything that they do is going to bring forth something else. So one thing about the Lord is constantly making Esau barren and barren. So now this has happened in Mississippi. One was on a campus, a college campus, and another was close by a casino in Vicksburg, which in fact I know the areas, both of the areas very well. So I was gonna go into another lesson, but I decided to do this through the spirit, because we're seeing that this devil is constantly, moving in warp speed, because he knowing that his time is very short. He sees that his days is determined. So left and right, and one thing about it, when you go to Matthew chapter 24 around verse 3 or 4, it said, the Lord said, first thing he told the disciples, said, take heed that no man deceive you. So we're in this time, a lot of people are going to be in deceived. A lot of people are going to get caught up in these traps, these lies and deception, but the elect will not happen to them. Would it be possible for the elect to be deceived? It would not happen. One thing about it, we have that spirit of discernment. And one thing about it is that right now, there's a lot of deceptions and lies, to mislead you, off the path of righteousness. But one thing about it, we already know that the Lord is constantly shedding light on this wickedness. What is next? This man is constantly, every day, it's mass shooting. Now these hangings, to make, to get a reaction out of what? Out of Jake. He won't this race war. He won't civil unrest. All hell is getting ready to break loose. But guess what? The Lord is getting ready to bring it forth. But guess what? He's in for a rude awakening. So now let's start this quick news a report by WLBT Channel 3.
To follow a developing story out of Bolivar County that many of you are talking about. Authorities releasing new details after the death of a Delta State student found hanging from a tree on campus. This discovery was made just after 7:30 yesterday morning. He is identified as 21-year-old Demartravian Reed from Grenada. Family and friends call him Trey. His body has been sent to the state crime lab for an autopsy. 3 on your sides. Quentin Smith joins us now with those new details. Quentin, do we know if foul play was involved?
Well, pretty in at this time. Again, at this time, the Bolivar County coroner does not believe foul play is involved. He says he's not ruling this a homicide nor suicide. He says it's a death investigation. However, Reed's family announced today they will have an independent autopsy done on him. This as family, state, and university leaders are asking for answers and transparency. After investigating the death of Delta State University student DeMartravian Reed, also known as Trey, the Bolivar County coroner says his office can confirm that the deceased did not suffer any lacerations, contusions, compound fractures, broken bones, or injuries consistent with an assault. The coroner goes on to say there's no evidence to suggest the individual was physically attacked before his death. Despite these findings, some say there are still more questions than answers surrounding Reed's death.
Because it's not every day you wake up in 2025 and there's a man hanging from a tree on a college campus.
State Representative Kabir Kareem admits he was disturbed when he first heard the news about what happened at Delta State. That's why he and the Legislative Black Caucus are asking investigators to do a thorough investigation to get to the bottom of what happened.
With the climate that we are in America, you can wake up and basically you might hear anything. And that's why we can't take this particular situation lightly. But we don't want to embellish or overstate. We want to make sure that we're watching. And we want the public to know that we're watching.
One of our students is gone, and we will never forget that.
Dr. Daniel Enos is the president of Delta State. Although he and the university are saddened by this tragedy, he maintains the campus is a safe place for all students and says the university is working with police in this ongoing investigation.
In the middle of all this, yes, we continue to cooperate with investigators. We continue to make sure that all the information necessary is given to authorities, and we continue to hope for answers.
Reed's family announced today that civil rights attorney Ben Crump has been retained in this case. Crump released a statement saying, "We cannot accept vague conclusions when so many questions remain. I stand with this family, and I will lead a team of civil rights leaders and organizations in pursuing transparency and answers." Now, another man was also found hanging from a tree yesterday, this one in Vicksburg. He has been identified as Corey Zakatis. He's a white man from Brandon. He was found hanging in the woods near the Ameristar Casino. His body has been sent to the crime lab for an autopsy, which will then determine the exact cause and manner of his death. I do want to point out, officials say these cases are not connected. Delta State will host a press conference tomorrow morning, and we will be there, and we'll bring you the latest details as they unfold both on air and online at WLBT.com. Quentin Smith, 3 on your side.
So we seeing right here that this is straight bull, you know what, and one thing about it is that, you seeing that this dude, all of a sudden, he show up on the scene, what his name, this attorney, Crump, whatever, he don't never get a damn thing done. All he do is do a bunch of damn talking. All we gonna get this done, we seeking justice. We said we already know the damn playbook, what's happening. So right here, this could be another psyop. This could be another, some more crisis actors. But if it is for real, whatever, like, may the Lord have mercy upon those two men. But we already know they do things real. And also they do things, deceptions and lies. So we already know that Esau Edom is the master of deception. He is the devil that the Bible speaks of. So now let's get a quick precept. Let's go here first to 2 Corinthians chapter 11. I got one more video to bring out, and I got one to bring out about the Minnesota shooting. But the main focus on this lesson tonight about these two so-called hangings in Mississippi. So man, I'm telling you, man, this is right here is trying to provoke, the so-called people of color. So they can bring forth their narrative. They want a reason, but they get ready to get a reason very soon. We are here. 2 Corinthians chapter 2 and verse 11 said, "Lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices." His mindset, his plan, his evil plot. And one thing about the physical counterpart of Satan is the so-called white man, the devil that the Bible speaks of. And it says here, should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his device. Who is not ignorant of his device? So starting with the prophets, also the true believers of Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua. You know, we have that spirit of truth, the spirit of discernment, you know, and one thing about it, you know, this man is constantly getting sloppier and sloppier. This is the old playbook. But one thing about it, we knowing that he is getting ready to pay for these crimes. We already knowing about hangings that went on in the past. We knowing about slavery, all the atrocities, all the affliction, all the blood that was shed, you know. And one thing about it, you know, since thou hast not hated blood, blood shall pursue thee. So we coming upon this time, whether it was engineered and manufactured, but we know that was engineered and manufactured from who? Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua. And one thing about it, we know that the Lord is in perfect control. This man thinking he controlling the narrative, but the Lord is controlling everything, whether it's good or bad. So you see it right here. He's constantly trying to get that advantage. He's constantly trying to bring forth this new agenda. He's trying to what? To fill his belly, his what? Enterprise. So when you go into that word device, it goes into his mindset. You know, it's go into his agenda, his plot, his evil scheme. We're not ignorant of none of that. So now let's go here and get one more before we go back to, I got a couple more videos, then we're going to close out. Just a quick lesson through the Spirit. And once again, I hope that you will get edified. Let's go ahead to the blue letter. Something I want to get at this right here. Ecclesiastes chapter 8 and verse 11 said, because sentence against an evil work is not executed speedily. Therefore, the hearts of the sons of men is fully set on them to do evil. So right now, you know, we see it right now that, you know, everything is going to constantly going the way it is, and all this wickedness, and all this abomination, and all these the atrocities. But guess what? It has an expiration date. And one thing about it, you know, the Lord is getting ready to judge. The Lord is getting ready to repay. Recompense and judgment is coming upon this earth as we speak. Let's read it in NLT. It said, so when a crime is not punished quickly, people feel it is safe to do wrong. So who is that? That is Esau Edom. He's constantly doing all sorts of atrocities, all sorts of blood touching blood, you know, these hanging, you know, so-called hangings. But we already know these things still go on right here in the South. So the South, you know, it's different. These things been going on forever, you know. And also they right here in Mississippi, they got these Jim Crow laws whereby black police officers can only stop black people, and white police officers can only stop white people. So we're seeing how this is going, that division, you know, this separation, you know, these things are happening, you know, left and right. But the South, you know, this is a rough place to live in. If you never lived in the South and you don't know how to move in the South, you probably will come up unalive. You're in the wrong place. You know what I'm saying? And one thing about it, that's what we constantly warning you left and right. Let's read this once again. Because sin is against an evil work is not executed speedily. Therefore, the hearts of the sons of men is fully set on them to do evil. Because, you know what I'm saying, it's not that an evil work is not executed speedily. That don't mean that the Lord is not going to bring forth that judgment. That judgment is coming. You know, we had to pay. They are going to pay. You know what I'm saying? And one thing about it, you know, hey, no one has gotten away with a damn thing. Verse 12, though a sinner do evil 100 times, and his days are prolonged, yet surely I know that it shall be well with them that fear God, which fear before him. Verse 13 said, but it shall not be well with the wicked, neither shall he prolong his days, so which are as a shadow, because he fears not before the Almighty. God only mean power, but the Almighty Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua. So one thing about it, that, you know, the Lord is getting ready to execute judgment. Someone has got to pay for these crimes. So we know that the Lord is constantly exposing. The Lord is constantly revealing, you know, bringing things to light. The Lord is constantly removing the covering cast. So we know exactly well whether this went down, whether this was real or was it not. We already knowing that this man is trying to bring forth this agenda. You know what I'm saying? He want to bring forth total chaos, you know, sedition among men, there's civil war. That's why he keep aggravating Jake. We already know that Jake is getting ready to get roused up. the people of color, the Negroes. It'll start with the Negro, the Southern tribe, and it's gonna spin out of control into these Northern tribes. These things are getting ready to happen. So we seeing right now that old ancient hatred. They brought back these, all they two was hanging on a tree. They said it was a so-called black man. Now they saying it was a so-called a white man. But the so-called white man, he looked like he was biracial. You know what I'm saying? It's really no such thing. There's no mixed seed. But one thing about it, you are who your father is. But, the man looked like that, that he was, so you can understand that he had a white mother or a white father, so you can understand, and a black, whatever, vice versa. We put it like that. I hope you didn't get confused on that. But what I'm saying is that, one of the two was either white or black. So that's what I'm trying to say. But we knowing that we are who our father is, so that, so we can get to understand it. But now, back on what I was saying is that we seeing that now this man is constantly putting all these narratives in play, wanting you to think that, hey, we need justice for what happened in Mississippi. We need justice for what's going on in Minnesota, what happened against these homeless people. So you see, we seeing the play right before our eyes. The Lord is constantly making Esau barren and barren. And one thing about it, this man is not going to stop. When the Lord returns, the Lord is going to cut him off. That's why we said, that's why it says in Psalm chapter, King David said in Psalm chapter 17, verse 13, Lord, he said, disappoint him, cast him down. You know what I'm saying? Which is thy sword. We're talking about the so-called white man. This man is getting ready to use this sword. This man is getting ready to bring for war, but it's all through the spirit and the power of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua. So now let's get these last couple of videos, then we'll get a couple of more, then we'll close out. And once again, I hope that you will get edified.
Breaking news, 2 men were found hanging from trees on the same day. The first man was found Monday, September 15th on the Cleveland campus of Delta State University. They said Trey was found hanging from a tree near the Central Campus pickleball courts just after 7 a.m. Then around 1:30 p.m., Corey was found in a wooded area hanging from a tree there. This was near the Amistar Casino. Several posts have said that Trey had 2 broken legs and additional injuries that would have made it impossible for him to do this to himself. However, authorities stated that there is no evidence of foul play in connection to Trey's passing. The local coroner's office released a statement saying that Trey did not, quote, suffer any lacerations, contusions, compound fractures, broken bones, or injuries that are consistent with assault. They also added, quote, at this time, there is no evidence to suggest the individual was physically attacked before his death. They said though he had no broken bones or limbs, they could not elaborate further due to the ongoing investigation. They said, quote, I don't think I should probably discuss this any further than that. My opinion is that it was self-done. And I have reasons for that. At this time, they have not provided any further details on the other man found in the tree. Stay up to date on this case. Make sure you click the playlist below. I'll keep you guys updated. What do you think? Drop in the comments.
Following a developing story out of Minneapolis tonight, police responding to a mass shooting that left 5 injured near the Lake Street Transit Station. And that area is known as a trouble spot, and authorities say that they have had enough. This all happened just after 11 a.m. when shots were fired near the intersection of East Lake Street and Stevens Avenue.
Fox 9's Courtney Godfrey joins us now. And so, Courtney, what have police told you so far about this?
Well, Kelsey, it's still very early in the investigation, so details are limited. But according to Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara, this all happened on the path leading down to the Greenway, just below the 35W overpass and the Lake Street light rail station. O'Hara says a few dozen shots were fired, sending 4 people to the hospital and leaving a 5th victim with a graze wound. While he says they aren't yet clear on what led to the shooting, this area has been a hot spot for crime as people often congregate on and around the Greenway there with drug use rampant.
Yeah, Courtney, you mentioned hot spots, so it sounds like police have long identified this area as the problem. So the question is anything being done to clean this area up?
Well, the chief said they had a meeting with various stakeholders just last week to address the issue, saying the area is cleared out and cleaned twice a day, but that it hasn't helped. And this is the 3rd shooting there in the last month, so he's now calling on the mayor to close access to the walkway altogether, at least for the time being.
So yes, we believe this situation is just contributing to the overall crime problem. And the easiest thing to do is just to shut it down and clean this up.
Now, as you'll see here, the shooting was actually captured on MnDOT traffic cameras. You can see everyone scatters, and soon after that, police arrive on scene, followed by paramedics. As of right now, police don't have anyone in custody, but in addition to that video that you saw there are several cameras in the area which will assist in this investigation. Simone?
Investigators working to piece it all together. Thank you, Courtney.
So we seeing what? Mass shooting. We seeing hangings. We seeing what? Assassination and many other things. So, we're not ignorant of Satan's device. So these things are constant. This man is, he's moving in warp speed. Look up, when you get around to it, look up Project 25, also the King Alfred plan. So these things right now, they rolling it out, so the devil is getting ready to fill his belly. So let's start here. Just a quick lesson through the spirit, rolling in the spirit. Just a quick lesson, and once again, I hope that you will get edified. Let's go here to Lamentation chapter 4. And I had an article on that Minnesota shooting, but I don't know, I can't find it at this particular time, but I'll show you the video. But, you always look up the articles, it's all around. Let's go into Lamentation chapter 4 and verse 18. Let's get this right quick right here. So we're very close, man. This, this devil here, man, he got hell to pay. He's right upon judgment. Great fear is falling upon him. That's why he's moving in warp speed. He's seeing that his days are determined. Lamentation chapter 4 and verse 18 said, "They hunt our steps that we cannot go in our streets. So our end is near, our days are fulfilled. So for our end is come." So right here, they just like you say, we are to pray for right now. They've been hunting our steps in the street for a very long time, starting in slavery, 70 AD. Egypt, these constantly, not Egypt, Salakia, but, we seeing right now, slavery, we keep it right there in 70 AD, that the Roman soldiers, they, burned down, Israel, they came into, and destroyed the temple, so right there, same people, nothing new under the sun, the Edomites, and one thing about it, they hunt our steps in the streets, it said, our end is near, our days are fulfilled, for our end is come. Let's read in NLT, it said, we couldn't go into the streets without danger, said, to our lives, said, our end was near, our days were numbered, said, we were doomed. So one thing about it, the Lord is getting ready to put these curses upon these other nations. So, but one thing about it, we already know why all these things happened. We had to pay. When we sinned against Yahweh, Ba'ashim Abishai, we know about the hanging. We know what they call lynchings. We know about these mass murders, police brutality. They hunt our steps in the street. And one thing about it, but only for a short season. Now the tables are turning. We know exactly how this man is rolling it out. But at some point, which in fact we know that very soon, this man is getting ready to pay. What was done to us is getting ready to be done to them. So they hunt our steps in the street. So we seen what happened. These guys did these hanging deaths. So man, we're here. Police brutality. Mass shootings. The list go on and on what this red devil do. So now let's go here to Ezekiel chapter 35. We're gonna go straight to the point. Let's go ahead, Ezekiel chapter 35. Not meant to be a long lesson tonight. Ezekiel chapter 35. Ezekiel chapter 35. We'll start up at the top. That's Isaiah chapter 35. Salakia. Ezekiel chapter 35. We'll start up at the top. It says here, prophesy against Mount Seir. So we already know it's a message for Edom. We already know who is the modern day Edom. Esau, Edom is the so-called white man, the devil that the Bible speaks. So let's start here. It says, moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, verse 2, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir and prophesied against it. That's what the prophets are doing. They're prophesying against Mount Seir. We telling you about what Esau Edom, the so-called white man. We telling you that he's the devil that the Bible speaks of. We telling you that he is the wicked. And also we telling you about all the atrocities and all the innocent blood that he shed. You know what I'm saying? And we telling him his judgment that is coming from who? Yahweh Ba'ashim Abishai. He's getting ready to pay for these crimes. He hadn't gotten away with a thing. All these lynchings, all these hangings, all these murders, you know what I'm saying? Blood touching blood, raping, stealing and killing and robbing. These things get ready to come back upon him. Get ready to turn upon his own head. Since thou hast not hated blood, we'll get it in a minute. I don't want to jump the gun. Ezekiel chapter 35 and verse 3 says, and say unto it, thus said the Lord power, behold, O Mount Seir, I am against thee, and I will stretch out my hand against thee, and I will make thee most desolate. Verse 4, so I will lay thy cities waste, and thou shalt be desolate, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord. Verse 5, because thou hast not Salakia. Ezekiel chapter 35 and verse 5. I'm just excited, Salakia. It says here, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword, and in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end. Verse 6 said, we'll stop it right there. Let's see. Said, therefore, as I live, says the Lord power, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Since thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. So right here, the Lord is going to turn the tables. Right now we're seeing that this man is constantly bringing forth all these different atrocities, all these different calamities, showing you look at this, look at that. These two men that was hanging from trees. What are y'all going to do? Right now they really pretty much is provoking us. So I'm gonna read this again. Ezekiel chapter 35, 5 and 6. Called I butcher. A little bit tired, but hey, we're gonna constantly push through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashim Abishai. Say Ezekiel chapter 35 and verse 5. It said, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time their iniquity had an end. So one thing about this man, he never showed any mercy. So no mercy shall be showed to him. Verse 6 is that, therefore, as I live, says the Lord power, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Says, since thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. So that's what exactly get ready to happen. Let's read this in the NLT. So as surely as I live, says the servant Lord, since you showed no distaste for blood, I will give you a bloodbath, so of your own. Your turn has come. So that's exactly what's happening. It's his turn. One thing about it, we're in a transition of power. What was done to us is getting ready to be done to these red devils. So let's read a little bit more of this. Ezekiel chapter 35 go very hard. So one thing about it, these so-called Edomites are walking around here like they have not did a damn thing. Oh, it wasn't me. It wasn't. We didn't do. I didn't have any slaves. Well, you get ready to pay for it. So let's read a little bit more of this, because Ezekiel chapter 35 go very hard. Let me highlight some of this. So I like to read it, highlight it. We're gonna go all the way down to 15. We're just gonna read. Man, I'm telling you, man, the Lord is doing a mighty work, man. Let's go here. Ezekiel chapter 35 and verse 11 says, therefore, as I live, says the Lord power, I will even do according to thy anger and according to thy envy, which thou hast used out of thy hatred against them. And I will make myself known among them, and It said, among them when I have judged thee. So the Lord's going to make it known. You know what I'm saying? The Lord's going to make an example out of these red devils and also these heathen nations. You know, we very close this time. You know, this man right here, you know, he showed envy. You know, this man never let up. He had a petrol hatred for us all the way until the Lord shut his ass off. You know what I'm saying? One thing about it, this man here's got to be taken out. Verse 12, it says, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord, and that I have heard all thy blasphemies. So which thou hast spoken against the mountain of Israel, saying, they are laid desolate. They are given us to consume. So, you know, right there, you know, we've been consumed. We've been to prey for some time. But one thing about it, the Lord is getting ready to turn the table. You know, these curses are getting ready to fall upon them. We know that the curse will be upon us until the Lord returns. But right now we're seeing that things are slowly changing. The Lord is exposing. The Lord is removing the covering cast. We're seeing these things that happen, man. We're very excited. Verse 13, thus with your mouth ye have boasted against me, and have multiplied your words against me, and I have heard them. So the Lord is hearing them, you know, and have reached it into the sky. So, you know, his wickedness is so great. The Lord is getting ready to jump off, you know, getting ready to return, man. You know what I'm saying? We seeing right now, the Lord's getting ready to do the thing, you know, you know, at the end of the show, speaking out loud. Verse 14, thus said the Lord power, when the whole earth rejoices, so I will make thee desolate. Hey, man, we very close to this time. The kingdom of heaven is fast approaching. Also, we going to rejoice when this red devil, you know, is under our feet. Verse 15 said, as thus did it, and verse 15 once again, and as thou didst rejoice at the inheritance of the house of Israel, because it was desolate, so will I do unto thee. Thou shalt be desolate, O Mount Seir, and all Idumea, even all of it, and they shall know that I am the Lord, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua. So one thing about it, the Lord said all of it. You know what I'm saying? We know that Mount Seir is talking about Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. Idumea is a Greek way, way of saying Edom. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So one thing about the Lord, you know, he's getting ready to take these Edomites, you know, they're going to wish that they never put their hands on the children of Israel. And one thing about it, we're going to have 1,000 years to, you know what I'm saying, to bring forth, you know what I'm saying, judgment upon these red devils. And they got hell to pay. So now, let's go to our last and final script. Let's go here. We know that slavery is coming back in a big way. You know, we don't give a damn what they're trying to bring, a narrative. You know, 2 men was hung, 1 white, 1 black. You know, we seeing how all this shit going, man. You know, this man using the same playbook. But one thing about it, though, it's all through the spirit and the power of Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua. Who shall rise him up? They want this race war. They're getting ready to F around and find out. And one thing about it, we win in the end. The kingdom of heaven that dwells in righteousness. Let's get to this last one. We'll close out and ramble long enough. It said, Jeremiah chapter 30 and verse 16 said, therefore, all they that devour thee shall be devoured, and all thy adversary, every one of them, shall go into captivity, and they that spoil thee shall be a spoil, and all that preyed upon thee will I give for a prey. You know, what was done to us is getting ready to be done to them. You know what I'm saying? He that killeth with the sword shall be killed by the sword. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. You know what I'm saying? One thing about it, the Lord is a just power. And out about the Lord's going to bring forth that judgment like we have never seen before. So we seeing right now, these psyops, these crisis actors, we seeing propaganda, we seeing a lot of things, and even then, this could have been actually happened. But one thing about it, through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, the Lord reveals his secret to his servant, his prophets, so we know exactly what's going on. We know that this man, he'll call these things, just like I say, he can unalive someone to bring forth his agenda, or bring forth some type of a law, some type of mandate, some type of legislation, to put a tighter grip on Jacob, which in fact are the Negroes, the native Indians, you know what I'm saying, the Seminole Indians, the native Indians, the Latino, Salaki, the Mexican, you know, so I'm talking to you. And one thing about it, we're seeing right now that we're getting closer and closer to what? Jacob's trouble. You know what I'm saying, the hour of temptation, the MOTB. We go these things left and right. What? World War III. We seeing what's going on between Russia and NATO. You know what I'm saying? These things are constantly picking up. Ezekiel chapter 38, man. The Lord is gathering the nation for what? The controversy of Zion. So it is payday. You know, when you go into the world, recompense going to repay. And who is going to repay? It is who? Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. The Lord is getting ready to repay and set everything back into order. So the title of the day lesson, once again, is 2 deaths in Mississippi. So I'd like to give all praises and honor and glory to Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rekah Kwadash. I like to say, Shalom, Shalom.